Okay, we are letting a few more folks come on. And get started. I want to welcome everyone to our 5th Technical Assistance webinar. I have truly enjoyed each one this year and having the privilege to spotlight our Sustain SC members and the products and services they provide. Sustain SC is a nonpartisan, commerce-driven, conservation-minded, not-for-profit organization. And we are so excited that you chose to spend this time with us today. And we will move on to our next slide. So our mission is to connect the sustainability goals of business with local solutions for the benefit of our economy, environment, and people by meeting at the crossroads of commerce and conservation. This is done through our Sustain SC member network, which includes advanced manufacturing and mobility, timber and agriculture, government and infrastructure, applied research, utilities, and conservation groups, which all come together with a common goal. Sustain SC is focused on the sustainable development goals that align with our priorities to bring commerce and conservation together. The roadmap to Sustain SC is our strategic framework of 7 accelerators. Partnerships are the means of sustainability implementation and the key to everything we do at Sustain SC. Protect, restore, and promote the sustainable use of our land and water ecosystems and natural habitats. The next one, the new STEM, sustainability is the new STEM. And we are providing education and awareness to our youth, educators, underemployed, and industry managers so that all learners acquire the knowledge and skills to live in a more sustainable future. Through capitalizing on the sustainable revolution, we are working to build resilient infrastructure, sustainable industrialization, and foster innovation. The circular economy seeks to not only reduce waste generation and recycle responsibly, but also redesign and repurpose products and materials before they are adverse impacts to the environment. I'll touch on energy in the next slide, but we'll wrap this one up with our final accelerator, which focuses on assisting companies with their goals. And that's exactly what we're doing today with introducing some consulting services, and we hope to help you all with meeting your goals at the local level. Ensuring all people enjoy the same degree of access to clean energy, water, and air is essential to maintaining a healthy environment. We convene partners providing diversity of thought leadership for hard-to-solve problems, such as providing affordable, reliable, and sustainable energy. We have identified priorities based on the solid research data and are actively bringing together key stakeholders. We invite you to work with us and bring and our member network to bring continued investment for clean energy and technology into South Carolina that will reduce our carbon emissions, create jobs, and is going to fortify our national security. And with that, I'm going to move over to the next item of business. And y'all, I apologize, I'm letting people in at the same time to make sure everybody gets to hear the webinar. We'd like for you to have a seat at the table as we host Accelerator Working Group open houses later this month. Our CEO, Leslie Scardon, and I will provide for each accelerator the background, mission, work completed to date, roadmap actions. Oops, went too far. Uh-oh.
Wrong one.
Went too far. I know, Houston, we have a problem. Sorry about that. Roadmap actions review, assessment of sustainability goals, and identified actions, next steps, and KPIs. I hope to see you there. If you would like to participate in one of these virtual open houses, if you will just send me an email at cynthia@sustainsouthcarolina.org. Now we're going to move on to our presenters, Brian Cooney and Reese Irwood, and I will let them introduce themselves. But I know you may have some questions, so please put those questions in the chat. And as soon as our presenters have completed their presentation, we will go to those questions and make sure it's answered for you. So without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce you to our first speaker, Brian Cooney from SE MEP. MEP is one of our consulting services, Sustain SC partners, and we're very excited to have them today. And with that, I will now go to your presentation, Brian, and turn the floor over to you.
Thanks, Cynthia. Appreciate it. And welcome, everybody, and I hope you're off to a good start to your week. Go ahead to the next slide then. Go ahead and start with the profile. There you go. Yeah, again, my name's Brian Cooney. I'm the Regional Vice President for SCMEP. I'm one of 7 regional VPs, and I cover 11 county stretch from Bamberg up to Horry County. So a lot of range in the counties I cover. I've been in with MEP for almost 11 years now, and I come from a really strong manufacturing background in multiple disciplines. So some of the things I'm going to talk about I can relate to very closely because I've been doing a lot of it for a long time. It's just now some language and some names have been put behind what we're going to talk about. Lean Six Sigma Black Belt. Again, I'm all into about the manufacturing process. All right, go ahead. So a little bit about manufacturing and central partnerships. So the MEP is sponsored by NIST, which is the National Institute of Standards Technology, under the U.S. Department of Commerce. So that would be the hierarchy. We were founded in 1989, really contributed by Senator Fritz Hollins. If you've been around since as long as I have, and some others, in the 70s and 80s, we pretty much got beat up by the Japanese, especially along the lines of our quality systems and things like that. We're one of 3 MEP centers started up, Ohio and New York being the other 2. And currently there are 50 states with the MEPs, and Puerto Rico having the 51st. So we're well represented throughout the country. All right. Again, here's our structure. As I've talked, we're a 501c3 non-for-profit. So we're one of the few MEPs that do this. If you look at other MEPs, some of them would be embedded into university or college or technical colleges. So if you was to look for an MEP in North Carolina, it'd be at NC State. And if you was looking for one in Georgia, they'd be at Georgia Tech. So we stand alone from that measure, or from that perspective. We're measured by bottom line impacts. And again, we have 7 regional VPs in the 7 service areas. And you can see by the map, all the different regions and how they're divided up. We have 5 delivery resources on staff, so that limits our capacity and capability. But we have a wide network of third-party providers, and I'd say about 75% of our project work is done with third-party resources, subject matter experts in very particular areas that help focus on our manufacturers. Right. Next slide. Yeah, and you can see who we're in partnership with in the state of South Carolina. State of South Carolina has a lot of entities, and which makes South Carolina really a friendly state from a business perspective, and that's the feedback we get from a lot of manufacturers who end up and come down here. So these are all our partners, and we'll reach across these when when things are out of our reach or out of our portfolio, and bring companies or bring these groups in, and vice versa, right? So, yeah. What's our method? Well, we have a method. Probably if you're familiar with quality systems, you got the PDCA cycle. Ours is real close. We call it. We have an analyze, we have plan, we implement, and then we do a review process. So, our analyze phase starts with our competitive assessment, and I'll talk about that in a second. And then we create that plan, an action plan on how we can help you move forward. And then so here's what separates us from a lot. We'll roll up our sleeves and we'll get to work and help you. So it's not just a level of training only. It's training and do. It's kind of a train and do methodology. And then afterwards, we like to measure and verify the results, right? Did we move the needle to the client's liking, or in what else do we have to do to help move that? Next. So our key service areas, as you see, we cover everything. This is, the soup to nuts, man. We got everything going from, we can help you bring the sales in to we can help you get the sales out the door, right? So we can focus on everything. And then, as manufacturing has matured and gone on over time, the needs have changed, and industries to be more competitive have changed, right? So segments of Industry 4.0 and cybersecurity and those type of items, and the ones we're going to talk about now, sustainability is a challenge going forward. All right. So how do we reach manufacturers? Well, we do it in a couple different ways. So we have in South Carolina, we have the Greenville, Columbia, and Somerville locations for our training centers. We also utilize Horry Georgetown Technical College as a space out on the coast, so we can start bringing our training platforms out to those areas. We have online content that it's on-demand courses from we partner with Society of Manufacturing Engineers Tooling U, and we using some of their online learning content, the technical side, we can help companies with their upskilling of some of their workforce. And then of course we will bring it to you on site, right? Again, hands-on effective learning, and we train and do. Alongside of that, we do have our consulting services, so we're not just the training organization. We have a multitude of consulting opportunities that we can help you with. If you look at the training matrix and the consulting matrix, they match, because obviously like I said earlier, we train and we do. So you kind of see both on a card. And then through membership programs, we make connections. So our Op Exchange program, which is really unique in the sense that it's manufacturing to manufacturer, peer-to-peer type organizations where you can share best practices. So it's done through plant visits. We do it with some online content or similar webinars like we're on today. We do quarterly, and we move these across the different regions. Particular training, right? So that the companies can, if you're interested in something, you never seen it or done it, you want to know more about it, that's what the training opportunities allows you to do. And then on top of that, every person within the membership organization can access a portal, and on this portal you can review past events. They're recorded when the client will allow us to when the company will allow us to record it, but pretty much like slide presentations, any content that was shared that they're willing for us to put on the server in the portal, they get to do that. So it's really just a share of best practices and collaboration, and in some instances, I can tell you it's worked from a B2B perspective, right? It wasn't intended that way, but that's just kind of the way it's worked out from time to time. We have the Insight Group, which is a peer-to-peer executive program. Really that we have it in Columbia and the Greenville locations right now. And that's really for you for the executive levels. They don't, when it's lonely at the top, so to say, right? So, hey, this is a time for these executive levels to share with their own, with other executives within their organization, and what's a best practice, again, a peer-to-peer learning group. And then I'll explain Connect South Carolina here in a few slides. So, all right, so how are we measured? So from a economic standpoint or economic impact, so our NIST parent does an independent survey about 6 to 9 months after you've completed a project with SCMP. It's independent, comes directly to the client, and then they can report their numbers are based on the project work and stuff that we've done with them. Again, this is very independent. This is stuff that the clients are reporting, and you can see last year we had $1.41 billion impact in South Carolina. And then you can see the remainder. So you got new investments at 162, jobs retained was 3288, and then jobs created was 804. So various, that's how we're measured on the federal level, how well the tax dollars are being used and applied to the projects. Yeah. So back in earlier this winter, we did our own kind of survey against research and analyze the market need for manufacturing sustainability. So went out to a large network, and we had 140 manufacturers respond, right? And some of the key takeaways from this was 62% of them were actively developing some type of sustainability program or creating policy around it. And then there was 26 reported planning on in the near term. Major drivers was some were customer driven and others were corporate requirements. So if there was so that was going to be varied, which we kind of figured that was going to be the two main drivers. A lot of the companies reported they were struggling on where and how to make progress, right? In this case, they were going to need some help trying to just figure out how to move the needle on this if they were to move forward. Companies did realize their waste and energy usages are targets but lack the data, so that was kind of interesting to know about it. And there is some confusion on applicable certifications or standards. And this probably still is going to confuse because we don't have, we'll talk about ISO in a second because ISO maybe come into play, but just not sure what the certification requirements are really going to be and what are the reporting requirements are going to be. So those are still fuzzy and not just in our world, but in everybody else's. Efforts are siloed and not extending through the supply chain. So maybe it's at a facility or plant level, but then that's about it. I believe this website is still live if you wanted to take the assessment and add to the data source, but you can go there. If it's not live, let me know because I believe it may be just a timing thing in the system. So let me know about that. Okay. All right, this is an interesting one because this is the ISO standard changes. So ISO 9001 in February reported that there will be some changes to the standard to address if an organization is the organization shall determine whether the climate change is relevant issue to them or not, right? And then really the intent was to ensure that climate change issues are considered by the organization in the context of the effectiveness of their quality management system, right? These additional statements in each management system standard are ensuring that this is an important topic and is not overlooked, but considered by all organizations, of course, in the design and implementation of the management system. So that's interesting now that some of this is starting to get tossed into we know we have ISO 14001, 50001, but yeah, now ISO 9001 And you're probably going to see that in the IATF and AS9100. The language is going to be in there as well, similar to what they did with cybersecurity. They put it in there, they bake it in there. I think this is rolled out. I can't be certain about that because I never know how the ISO standard, when they make a change, how many readings they go through to make a full change, or if this is an amendment or an addition. So keep an eye, if you're focused on quality systems, keep an eye on that, and just, you'll know when those systems when they'll roll this out. But they're making companies think about it with this change. All right. Go ahead. All right. So SMEP service support, or support services anyways, we're based on 5 pillars. So at the top, design for sustainability. It's kind of, in my past life, I was a design engineer and a manufacturing engineering manager for this. So the idea behind this, VAVE, if you've ever heard, it's value engineering, value analysis. It's really kind of the way to, and I was doing this many years ago, where you were trying to make your parts lighter so you could run the machines faster, produce more, right? So that's still really relevant with design for sustainability, right? So looking for the right materials, looking for the right amount of materials. Can you reduce that amount, and reduce the amount of waste that you're using to produce the parts? So as an automotive, I was in a molding plant, blow molding plant to be exact, and they always wanted us to reduce the waste coming off of a part, because there was always going to be some type of waste when you blow mold a part. And it was always a lot of efforts to reduce that. So it kind of follows along that design for sustainability. Again, the compliance for sustainability is your ISO standards, right? Policy creation more so than anything. But again, as I said, with the 9001, be a lookout. That's gonna fall in there, or already has fallen in there as well. So any of the ISO standards, you probably can bet that there's going to be language in there, and that will be covered. The energy optimization. Energy companies been doing this for a long time as well, but now that, like I said a little bit earlier, is like now some of this we've been doing for a long time, but now we've just put it into a language that kind of, or a program or something that we can that we defined it as in what bucket it kind of falls into. But compressor optimization, motor efficiencies, so all these energy audits that's the energy companies can do, independent companies can come in and do. You got the solar capability or feasibilities now. Are the plants got the right lighting in it? Things like that. It is the support services that we can offer help with, or at least make the introductions to folks that can help you out. The waste stream reduction is kind of an interesting one if you think about, if you're a lean guy or lean person. If you could reduce the waste out of your processes, like throughput, which would result in the energy use, scrap reduction, your machine uptime or downtime, those kind of things that we already use independently with running our operations, but they all fall under this pillar. So it's not something new that we have to do. It's just we just are categorizing it in the bucket underneath the sustainability program. And then there's the supply chain, the data and supply chain, right? So carbon footprint, the greenhouse emissions, all the equipment data collection, and really localizing your supply chain, which is what Connex supply chain database we'll talk about here in a second. Okay. All right. So with that, we'll talk about Connex, and what it is Connex is a really find new and different. I call it find a new and different alternative suppliers. I would say it's a database. It's a supply chain database. You got a place to look for somebody that will help you with whether you got a product or a process, and then this was rolled out with the CHIPS Act couple years ago now, I guess. We rolled it out in 2023 of July, and it's specifically set for South Carolina manufacturers as far as the database goes, but I'll talk about the national one in a second. But you can customize a profile highlighting your company's unique capabilities. right? It's a search engine, right? Sophisticated search engine to help you find the supply base. And then it helps you define, it helps determine these, they've already been vetted a little bit to determine if they're a viable company, do they have all the credentials, do they meet your needs? And then this database can help you make those connections, right? This database is administered by the NIST MEP centers, so you have to, it's a pretty big supply database. We'll explain that in a second. There is this QR code here. If you want to get on it, you can hit that or go to our website at scmep.org and sign up if you feel like you're qualified after this. All right. Okay, so how does this kind of work a little bit? So every companies can build their own profile. So basically you're putting in everything there is about your company, right? Who you are, what industries do you serve? Again, your location, your website, any contact information you would feel necessary, any necessary NAICS codes to identify who you are, and then any product families, and of course organizational IDs like in the DUNS number, right? So go ahead. Right. So basically you're building, as you build your profiles, now they can find you real easily. So if you're looking for something in the molding area, you would type in. It's almost functionally works like you just put in a hashtag and you start dumping, and it starts dumping in a bunch of different companies based on what you're looking for, right? So you can filter, allow you for that searching. So if you want somebody that's very specific and has a very specific certification, you can search by that, and it could be a couple hundred suppliers in there, but it's only going to give you the 3 or 4 that meet your filters, the things you're looking for in particular. So it makes searching much easier to find those companies that you may struggle to look for. I don't remember if anybody remembers the Big Thomas Registry, the big green books, kind of helps replace that, right? And again, but what this will help you do is help you look for companies that are regionally or located close to you, and then you can then again as part of the whole supply chain thing and getting supply chain as close as possible, then you can reduce some of that traffic on the road and set up milk runs and so on. And then manufacturers can post and respond to business opportunities. So right at that point, through this database, you can make those connections directly to that company or that contact to the company. So you can put in response to the RFPs or RFQs or whatever they're called. And if you're looking for that localized supply chain, or you're trying to find some alternate suppliers, this is a kind of a database for you to reach out to. Okay. So who's on Connex? Well, as of right now, we have about 160 companies in the South Carolina platform, right? And a lot of them already are making connections, and so and with the support of the Department of Commerce and SCMA, we would expect this to grow into the state. So big part of the success of a lot of this is when we get to some of the big OEMs on here, and then no supply chains start to migrate on there. We feel like this will exponentially get larger for this. So a year in, 160 companies is pretty remarkable, because that's a lot of work to get them on and get them vetted and get them put in the system. This is really all at no cost to South Carolina companies. Department of Commerce is paying for the use of this database in South Carolina. There is a nationwide access available. It's $500 a year. I think right now there's probably, I want to say it was 18 or 19 other states through the MEP that's on the this Connex database. So you can go across borders, and we've had some companies that have done that, and because they're looking for something very specific, or they have a sister plant in Alabama, and Alabama's on the supply chain in the database, and therefore they can all find each other and what they need. So again, 160 so far on site, and hopefully we're pretty confident that we'll get more. And So those are all the services that MEP offers. There are a lot more, I'm sure, if we look into the spec sheet, and we can help you out. So you go to our website, you can see what else we have out there to offer. You can reach out to one of the local RVPs, and be certain we can help you make the connection. Again, South Carolina is a very user-friendly state for manufacturing and business in general, and off it goes. All right. Any questions towards the end, or you can ask them now, I guess, or start putting in the chat box, and we can answer them towards the end.
Yeah, thank you, Brian, for that great presentation and update. What I really found fascinating and want to dig into is the survey that you all did, because that makes me feel really good that sustainability is a hot topic. It is driving decisions made for our manufacturers. And there are a lot of other consulting services that are on the webinar today and that are Sustain SC members, and we'll be checking out our website. So could you just tell everyone if they are a company, a consulting service or provider that wants to get onto the SC MEP network? It is free, but there is a vetting process to go through that. Could you just talk about that a little bit? And then we also have a question in the chat that I'll answer.
Yeah. So if you have as I stated earlier, we utilize a lot of third-party providers, right, for in this subject matter experts that we don't have internally. So if you have a service, or you're a consultant or something you think you can provide that value add, MEP is always looking for third-party resources. And what you do is you just go to our website. I think at the bottom of page 1, it'll tell you become a third-party resource. Enter your information into there, and it'll shoot to our director of operations, and that will start the vetting process. So your first point of contact will be with him, and you'll have this. We'll just go through a general conversation, and then you may meet with a couple RVPs, and then after that, we just get you on. If we feel like you can really add to our portfolio, then yeah, we'll add you on. So it's really as simple, but we go through a little bit of a vetting process first. And if we have a project or two that we can throw right at you right away, that works. And but yeah, as this topic continues to be hot and growing, yeah, the resources pool is going to have to be pretty heavy. We realize that. Right, we can't do it with 1 or 2 folks. It's going to take a big group of people. So
that's right. And then I also answered the question on the chat. Yes, so this slide deck will be sent to everyone's email that registered. We'll also have it under our events tab on our website, the full recording and the PowerPoint slide. So without any additional questions to Brian Cooney from SCMEP, I am now going to turn it over to Reese Irwood. And Reese is with Rolls-Royce, who is one of our corporate members at Sustain SC. And the floor is yours, Reese. Thank you so much for sharing with us how Rolls-Royce is addressing energy optimization. And you all have some very innovative approaches and things that you're going to share with us today.
Yeah, good morning, Cynthia. Thank you very much. Just to clarify, you can see the presentation, correct?
I can see the presentation, but I need your volume turned up a little bit on your voice.
I will try to speak up a little more. Okay, yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, so as Cynthia said, we are relatively new members to the Sustain SC group, but we are one of the corporate members. She's asked me to come along today and just give a little bit of an overview of some of the things we're doing here at the Rolls-Royce Power Systems site in Aiken. So let me introduce myself. My name is Reese Irwood. I'm the Senior Operations Manager for Facilities Maintenance here at this plant. I have been here now for just over 2 years, specifically at the Aiken plant. However, I've worked in various departments across Rolls-Royce for just over the last 16 years. As most people know, Rolls-Royce is a global company. We have three main business units, specifically around civil aerospace, defense, and power systems. Each of their own divisions has sustainable goals and objectives to become more carbon neutral, net zero, and more sustainable, both in the products that we manufacture and also in our operations. Specifically, what I'm going to speak about today is operations, and even then down to power systems, Aiken specific. We have much more progress in our German plant in Friedrichshafen in Germany. They have really been spearheading the net zero for a number of years now, and then what's happened is we've started to do the same thing over here in the US site. We are the largest manufacturing site outside of our German production plant, and then we have some other smaller production sites and such like across the rest of the US. Okay, so just a quick summary of, as I mentioned, power systems. We have over 40,000 customers in various different industries. We sell over 20,000 engines a year. Predominantly, we are a reciprocating slow-moving diesel engine manufacturer. We employ just over 9,500 people, and turnover about 3.3 billion annually through revenue and such like. So what I will do is I'll show you a bit about the Aiken campus specifically. So the Aiken campus was founded here in 2010. It was a brownfield site. We took the building over from its previous tenant, which was actually SKF. So we adopted this building in a state of somewhat, I wouldn't say disrepair, but lack of efficiency, which introduced its own set of interesting obstacles that we had to overcome, in the sense of trying to make it a little more sustainable and energy efficient and more carbon neutral. So the Aiken campus, we have 312,000 square foot undercover climate controlled building. We're based on a 400,000 meter squared site. We have recently expanded out a remanufacturing facility, which is another just over 69,000 square foot, and that was completed the end of last year, and the grand opening was the beginning of this year. That works into our sustainability as well, in the sense that effectively what we're doing with the reman facility is we are even taking in complete engines, and we are turning them over for the customer and overhauling them so they get a new lease of life versus buying a new product, thus reducing the scrap that potentially go to landfill or whatever location that scrap would go to. And also we concentrate on rebuilding turbos, injectors, and various other engine components, which basically we can reuse or we can keep for the customer to reuse. So that's a really big sustainable solution that we brought here to the campus. We manufacture engines here. We machine them and we assemble them. Namely, the 4000 and the 2000 are our larger engines that typically people will see in the dump trucks, rail, oil, gas, marine industries, various different industries that we support. And then we also have some military application engines as well. We comprise of 4 test benches here. We've got 4 production test benches and 4 research and development test benches. The research and development ones are much more complex. We effectively can create real world environments in there for what the engine would be working in. And actually one of the dynos that we use in there is an electric assist dyno, which we use the power from to feed back into our own internal grid here to assist with our reduction efforts. We have paint facilities here, HVAC controlled paint facilities, a drying oven. We have an external logistics centre, which is another 310,000 square foot of storage. And then just some of the kind of sustainable solutions, other than what I've already mentioned, that we have here. So we are a zero landfill waste. We segregate all of our waste and we send it off to zero. None of it goes to landfill. It all gets recycled or repurposed. And we have an on-site Rolls-Royce microgrid here, which compromises of a 1.75 megawatt PV array, a 1 megawatt battery storage system, and a 300 kilowatt diesel generator. I'm going to speak about that a little more in just a second. And then energy produced from our engine testing, as I said, we actually use that AC dyno to feed back into the grid. All our production areas have been retrofitted with energy efficient LED lighting, and this is managed by our building management system and occupancy detection. So effectively speaking, what we're able to do here is we're able to not only leverage the reduction of energy usage, thus reduce carbon footprint by using LED technology, but then we have tied that into our building management system to completely control the building and areas of occupancy. So if we have somebody on one assembly line and not on another assembly line, one part of the building stays in dark, whilst the other is active. And likewise with HVAC, and we're now looking at expanding that out further to compressed air and other facility services across the plant to be able to control those a little better and leverage more sustainable solutions. So as a company, we have sustainable power solutions anyway. Most people, like I say, know us for our diesel engine manufacturing, but we do have hybrid solutions out there. We have decentralized PTX systems, engines certified for sustainable fuels already. We have a fuel cell division, electronic monitoring systems, and then the microgrid battery containers and the H2 engines, which we're also developing as a company as a whole. And we have a roadmap to net zero as a company in its entirety. As of 2023, our main engine series will be ready for sustainable fuel, and we've done that. We have proven that we can run them on more sustainable, diverse fuel sources versus diesel. But they obviously can still operate on diesel. By 2030, we aim to reduce the CO2 emissions of our new products and solutions by 35% compared to what they were back in 2019. And then 2025 onwards, we're going to provide our customers with CO2-free energy supply using our fuel cells that we've developed for the company. And then the intention is that the entire of the Rolls-Royce group globally will be a carbon neutral company. So let me dive a little more into our reduction principles. This is really how we prioritize the sequence leverage of our in-house capabilities to maximize the integrity where we can and try and reduce the greenhouse gas related emissions from our operations specifically. So we kind of have a flow of four different routes that we take. We specifically look at efficiency first. So that's how do we get the most sustainable energy that we are not consuming, and how do we reduce our consumption as much as possible. And then we look at exploiting on-site potential. So this is where, as a sustainable company solution provider, we try to maximize our own self-generation and minimize the external procurement of the energy as much as we can using our own product. And then we have which can be
Reese, we're having a little, I'm sorry to interrupt you, sir.
Sorry.
We're having some trouble hearing you. It's like when you're closer to the computer, we can hear you a lot better than when you back up. And I know you're probably feeling like you're eating your video camera, but yeah, it does help with
I will
the
try.
sound.
I'll try to stay as close as possible. I apologise. You've got to love IT. So yes, no problem. Okay. So let me just go over a couple of specific projects that we've implemented onto the site right now. So one of the big ones was the LED lighting. So we're using unenergy efficient lighting here in the plant. So and the decision was made to go ahead and relamp the entire plant, specifically around the assembly line. This not only gave us reduction in energy reduction of output, but also with a morale boost that makes a huge difference to the lighting environment and the working environment. So the first year of this project, we started it just after the beginning of the year, so we had to adjust our figures for that. But effectively speaking, the first year we saved 454,000 kilowatts of power, which equated to about $30,000 of savings per year. And now we are seeing, based on this, a year-on-year saving of over $500,000, equating to $60,000. And obviously that's changing the cost of power and the way that power costs is bigger changes that and then the big one is that we're able to raise about 350 metric tons of CO2 from our plant. So we see a great saving, real cost savings in the plant, but we've also seen now moving on to our PV arrays. So we have two PV arrays here at our plant. We have a ground mount PV array at the front of our facility. You saw it on the previous picture. And then what we actually do is extend on that with a canopy. This serves two purposes again. It was a real win for us with our workforce, because we effectively created some relief for them from the crazy South Carolina hot summers by giving them shade for their vehicles, and it worked fantastically for us. But in the same token, we obviously use the power we generate from it, so it's a win-win both sides. This whole project was about reducing consumption, and we, within the first year of installation, 1,000 kilowatt hours of energy that we would have otherwise procured, which is $17,000. Again, not a huge sum, but it was based but now what we see is an ongoing
Reese.
Yeah.
Hang on. So I apologize. It sounds like you're underwater. So is there something covering up your microphone, or where I would love to get any suggestions from folks about how we can hear you better. And then we also have, yes. Okay.
All right.
So we have two questions for you. For the LED project, did the local electric utility provide a rebate? And who is your local electric utility in Graniteville, South Carolina?
Okay, so our local supplier is Dominion Energy, and we received a small amount of rebate, but not a huge amount. At the time when we installed these, there wasn't that much on offer. So we took the decision to predominantly self-fund, just based on the fact that the savings that we could see, it made financial sense to do anyway.
So the next question is from Dakota: how long did it take the Aiken plant to reach net zero? And
So we
how
have,
long will it take to recoup the cost of the different installations?
yeah, so we haven't reached net zero yet. The idea of the PV and the microgrid is more around peak reduction. So it's specifically around making sure that when we see the summer months, as I mentioned previously, we have a fully conditioned assembly space, 310,000 square foot of conditioned space. That's due to the requirement that we need for the manufacturing of our engines here. So we can't get away from it. And so what we see is in the summer, really high energy rates due to chillers running, dehumidification, humidification, all those other various supporting facilities that we need to generate that space. So what we do by use of the microgrid and the PVs is we're able to take the power that we generate from the PVs, we store them in our battery container, and then during the day we charge the battery container, then we switch over to PV. That helps to shave that peak off and reduce our top end costs, and then we then can leverage the battery as a more extended period of time after that into the late evening when the PV generation starts to drop down.
Perfect, thank you. And you know what? We can hear you the best ever now.
So I'm
So that
sorry about
worked.
that. And like I said, if there was, obviously some people could hear me, so but if there's any questions, feel free. I'll just move forwards just to show the microgrid and how the microgrid works really briefly.
Okay.
So here is an example of our sites. So we have the manufacturing plant, the administrative building, and the R&D building, and the three green pointers there. That's our canopy PV above our parking lot for employees. Our ground mount, which is at the front of the plant there, and then we have the battery container over to the right hand side, which is a 1 megawatt hour battery container storage system. And then we have the above that is where the diesel generator is, that we can bring online as well should we need to top off batteries and things like that, or predominantly more for islanding operation. So certain parts of our plant, we don't generate enough power to power the entire plant. However, we can run the admin building and the R&D building critical infrastructure during outages if we needed to, by use of the diesel generator and the battery storage that we have. Like I said, mainly what we're using is for peak shaving at the moment. We do intend to install further PV when both time and cost constraints allow, and ultimately, you know, we will build on our microgrid to make it work more towards us with more renewable energy. So the controller for the microgrid is based in the bottom right hand corner there. That is the battery container underneath. That's all the transformers, and then you have the controller in the room that sits above. Like I say, this is a product that we sell to our clients, but we use it here on our own site, partially as a product demonstrator, but partially for our own purposes of the peak saving. Here's an example of how the end-to-end solution works. So you can, you know, and it's infinite how you build out a microgrid system. So you can put your battery storage system on there. You can put your renewable energy sources, which could be hydro, they could be wind turbine, they could be, you know, various PV as we use, various different input methods, as well as then you can look at generator sets. CHPs are very good because you can use the heat from the CHP for other purposes, or kinetic power packs is another option, and then you feed those all into your centralized plant manager, which you can then either feed to the plant, send to the, if your energy supplier allows it, you can send back to the public grid as well, you know, to assist with a local community. In Friedrichshafen, we actually have the ability of being able to backfeed out to the local small town. Should they experience an outage, we can effectively power part of the town outside of our own site. So, you know, there's lots of the system concept and design can be expanded or made smaller depending on how your requirements need it. The energy saving potential, as I said, so here is, you can see the top one is the energy cost today, and then you have the energy cost with the microgrid is the line below. So that section in between the two is what I mean by peak shaving. So effectively speaking, we're able to cut that top end off. The way that it works with our energy supplier here is, if we move into that peak demand, our rate increases to a higher level. So the intention is obviously to try and keep it below that. And that way, thus, we get real world savings back from the microgrid use on the site. So that's kind of a summary. I'm going to open it up for questions. I do apologize for not being able to hear me too well previously. I don't know what went wrong there. We don't use Zoom typically in our corporation, so I apologize for that. But yeah, Cynthia, if there's questions, I'm happy to answer.
All right, we have another one that says, are you using a TOU rate to further realize economic benefit on your electric energy costs?
A TOU rate. I'm not 100%. I don't know is the answer.
And Alex McCauley, can you unmute to explain what your question is?
Sure.
Time of use.
Yep.
Time of use.
Yeah. Time of use rate. So you talked about with the battery, the BESS system that you have doing peak shaving, but I would imagine that when you're charging the battery also plays into the time of use schedule for your local utility. So I was just curious how you were realizing the economic benefit. I think you alluded to it just there a second ago when you talked about the peak shaving, and you're avoiding demand charges, I guess, by are you using it every day though, like 365 days a year?
Yes, Alex. So the microgrid is tied into our internal grid on the site. So it is substituting power usage 24 hours, 24 hours, 365 a day. Obviously the PV reduction at night, but then we have the other options throughout the ecosystem of the microgrid to supply or reduce demand, what we ask from the grid based on that. So absolutely, we specifically see we try to keep as much of the usable power for the peak times, because that's where we see the most return. However, once batteries are charged and PVs are produced in excess, we just use that power across our site. And then we have the dyno as well. The dyno is so basically it's a dynamometer. It's an AC dyno that we use for testing purposes on our test bed to create torque on the engine. That is a sporadic energy source, because if we're not testing, we're not generating power. Other times we may be testing for multiple hours at a time, thousands of hours sometimes. Other times the test cells may sit vacant for a week or so, especially in R&D. So we can't rely on that power as a reliable source. But again, we can leverage that when we need to. The microgrid will control accordingly where its power source is coming from, and try to maintain battery charged as a primary, and then spread the rest of the surplus power out across our grid to minimize grid reliance, if you like to say.
Okay. So are you all specifying, okay, we don't want the demand of the site to exceed this number, so there's some logic there to say, okay, we're going to dispatch the battery or whatever available distributed generation sources you have on site? Or how is that managed? That's the essence of my question. How is that managed?
Yeah, so typically speaking, the peak demand, as we call it, is it's a small window of time. It's typically height of the day, middle of the summer, probably half an hour, maybe a couple of hours at the most. So we are able to trend that. The microgrid also has the ability to trend estimated temperatures throughout the day, which assists us with estimating our power usage as well. So that way the logic then can calculate out, hey, we need to perhaps keep some extra surplus in the high summer months versus like in the winter when we really don't need to see it. So yeah, so it's a calculated control base from that microgrid.
Thank you.
Okay.
Great questions, Alex. We really appreciate you getting the conversation going. And it's now 12 o'clock. So we like to keep our webinars to 1 hour. I want to thank Brian Cooney. Thank you so much from SCMEP, talking about you all, your suite of services. And if anybody has any questions, they can reach out to you. And then also want to thank Reese Irwood from Rolls-Royce. Certainly appreciate your presentation, and we apologize on the volume. And then Alex says, I have more. So definitely, you guys, if you have more questions, please reach out to me at Cynthia@SustainSouthCarolina.org, and I'll be happy to connect you with either of or both of the presenters. I hope to see you all next on our Accelerator Open Houses, which occur at the end of June. If you want more information about joining one of those virtual open houses to learn more about our accelerators, also let me know. And everybody have a great afternoon. Thank you for joining.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks.